As an INFJ, you know the feeling when you stop doubting yourself, when you stop looking for permission, when you stop asking for any kind of understanding or validation. You know you're right, you know you're going to go all in, and then you see the results. People finally either step out of your way or they come closer. But they stop second guessing you, you stop looking around for what they're doing or what they're not doing, and you finally are going all in. Well, most INFJs are playing way too small because of the way society is set up. But once an INFJ truly goes all in, once they realize that they not only have all the potential, but they're actually tapping into it, magic happens. You really see the world around you change. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How you as an INFJ can finally stop playing small, go all in, and really bring all to the world that you know you're capable of. Before we get started, I want to remind you our next INFJ EPIC Life Bootcamp call is this Saturday, February 22nd. So if you want to join our amazing community of INFJs creating the INFJ EPIC Life on their terms, now is the best time. We have so much learning material that you'll find only there, plus an amazing community of INFJs continuously support one another. And last but not least, of course, the monthly live calls that keep you on track. Everything you need to know in order to join us, you can find in the link in the description. There are 3 reasons why INFJs play small very often. It's not because we lack the confidence. It's not because we don't think we have the power to do so. Most of the time, it's because of 3 things that are holding us back. The first one is that we're afraid of what it will do to other people. Once we show what we're capable of, it might trigger other people. It might impact them in a way that won't make them feel good, and in comparison, won't make us feel good. Because we have learned the more we show up for ourselves, the more we seem to trigger other people. But this is one of the things that is going to trigger you as long as you keep going back and forth. Once you go all in, you're not going to experience this anymore. People who are going to be triggered by you just stay away from you to begin with. This triggering phase always happens when people start to fight you or try to prove themselves in a way of keep yourself small so you're not rocking the boat and you're not causing anybody any problems. Once you've shown them that once and for all, you're not going to play that game. You're bigger than that. And not just from the perspective of, oh, I'm bigger than you, I'm better than you. Nothing like that. More so, I'm not going to play this game, and I'm not just going to tell myself that I don't need to be playing this game, but I'm actually putting action into it. I'm betting on myself, and I'm not just using my words, I'm moving into action. The second reason why INFJ might play too small is because we wait for the right moment. There's always a more convenient time. There's always this one situation that might turn everything into a perfect circumstance, but you cannot wait for that situation. Yes, it would be perfect if you take action then, but that's not reality. That's an ideal, and we're idealists, and there's absolutely nothing wrong about it. We just have to understand that idealism is supposed to be our North Star. It's supposed to help us to move into that direction. That does not mean that this is how reality is currently playing out. And if we want to create a life that is getting closer to our ideal, then we have to take action within the real world, in this imperfect situation, and probably before we're even ready. And the third reason why we INFJs tend to play small is because we prioritize others' needs over our own. It's an automatic response. This is nothing we have to apologize for. It's nothing we have to understand or explain to anybody, but it's also something we have to take responsibility for. Meaning, just because this is our direct response, this is what we naturally do, that does not mean that this is the right thing to do. We have to understand that we have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves first, because otherwise we're going to be drained. We're only going to be focused on what other people need at that moment, and we cannot really go forward with what our purpose is independent of this one particular person in front of us. When you stop playing small, you start taking up space unapologetically. And as somebody who has done so many things in our life without taking up space, thinking, I'm just going to do my own thing, I'm not going to bother anybody, I'm going to stay in my lane, I know the difference of what it means to do that or to really take up space. When you take up space, there's an aspect to this that is, this is how I see the world. I know you see it differently, but that's not going to be reason enough for me to dim my light or to pretend I'm living in your world. This is my world. I create the world around me. You can do you, but I'm not going to prioritize your worldview over mine just because it might trigger you. That's one big aspect, because once you make that decision, you make it for life. You know that there's no going back. You know that this is a path you're going to follow forever, because in that space, you thrive. In that space, you feel like you. And this is a space where you can create energy in such a way that it keeps overflowing, and then people can actually get attracted to the overflow, not like you simply by what you're willing to diminish in yourself in order to make them feel good. The next thing that happens once you stop playing small is you naturally attract what belongs to you. This is something that happens on such an automatic and subconscious level that you can't really imagine it until you're doing it. Because we as INFJs, we always feel like if I start taking steps into, becoming the person I want to be, start taking presence, like really choose me, everybody's going to move out of my way because I'm too different. This is weird. Nobody's going to like this. But there's an energy about you that is undeniable. And people will actually be so much more naturally drawn to you than ever before. And you'll have those reactions and you'll have these experiences independent of what you're doing for other people. You can help other people because it's a choice, not because it's a necessity for you to be accepted somehow. That does not mean that everybody's going to like you. No, there are going to be enough people who are going to dislike you. But people who would actually benefit from your energy will first off finally see you, maybe for the first time, and then have the courage to actually step into that part of themselves that would allow them to experience life this way. If you show up in a way that is full, if you show up in a way that's honest, if you show up in a way that makes you feel fulfilled, you're naturally attracting other people who want to experience that feeling within themselves as well. And it's not going to look like by them mimicking you or by them pretending to be you, but they will just align in such a way that if you're whole and fulfilled, it will subconsciously allow them to tap into that aspect of themselves that maybe for them seemed impossible, something you could never dare to be. And you can be an example of what it means to really choose you and really experience life to the fullest. And the third thing that happens once you stop playing small and you go all in is people will see you differently. They will sense that there's something different about you. And this is not the typical INFJ experience. I really can tell you, not just from personal experience, but having worked with so many INFJs, there is a huge difference. So let me tell you an example of my personal life. So my best girlfriends, I've known all my life. Like most of them I know from school, my other best friend I know from college. And the moment I started showing up the way I truly am, where I didn't hold back, all of them, I seriously mean all of them, really approached me and told me, yeah, you've been telling us all your life that you are different and you see the world differently, but now for the first time I see it. You actually are different. And it was such a surreal experience for me because I thought all along that everybody saw that I was different. But that's not the case. When you really tap into it unapologetically and you just show up and you live your life the way you want to live it, and it's different than how your friends or your colleagues or your neighbors are living their lives, people will sense that there's something different about you. And it will be more profound than before. And as I told you, it will actually be less uncomfortable for you, believe it or not, because this triggering aspect that we experience so often really comes from a place of us trying to step into who we are and the other ones pushing us back into this version of ourselves that doesn't trigger them or makes them uncomfortable. But once you're above that, once you really say, like, that's not even up for debate, I'm showing up the way I am, people either accept it or they move out of your way. And so many people will find an appreciation for you that they never had before and that you never thought was possible. I really thought the moment I stepped into all that I am, that nobody's going to love me, nobody's going to understand me, nobody's going to want to be in connection with me, because I have been conditioned to only have connection with people if I was stepping into their world, if I became a supporting role in their movie. We're not doing this anymore. We can do this for a moment in time, like really be there for people, but our general energy should be something that continuously grows and just attracts energy towards us, because we know that whatever energy we get, we actually transform and make better. Your INFJ glow up starts now, meaning you move like you already are that person. There's no second guessing. There's no looking left and right if people like it or not. You just are. And you're not just hiding it or being a hermit on your own. You're taking action and adding something. to the world. It can be the way you show up for your friends, the way you show up for your community, the way you show up in anything that you do. But you really come from a perspective of, I want to help, I want to contribute, I want to be a good member of society, but not in a sense of would you seem good. I know what I'm fighting for, and I'm doing this for something bigger than me. And in order to really be of service and to add to the equation, to be a contributor to a better world on your terms, it starts with you prioritizing yourself. So that really means you're not second guessing it anymore. You become your own parent and you tell yourself, this is who I am, and I'm going to support you. I'm not going to look left and right if my neighbor's kids like my inner child. No. This is what I want to be. This is who I am. This is how I can contribute because I know I've done this in the past. I know I've helped people before, but the price I was paying was just too high. And it wasn't in ways where I was allowed to really be myself. You know, in bootcamp, that's all that we do. We lean into becoming the person that we actually are and taking steps into creating the life that supports that and allows us to grow even further, to have more impact on people in a way that makes us feel like who we are matters. Who we are helps other people. And when we are in this great balance of I like the way I show up, and on top of that, I can be of service to others, it's a feeling like you can never explain. It's something that we instinctively need. And if we give ourselves that, we become addicted in the most positive way. We want more of that because you create feel-good hormones that are based on positive steps that you take and not just on us isolating or diminishing ourselves or just checking out. The second step is you stop over-explaining your decisions. So very often when we make a decision and we move forward with it, it's not gonna seem plausible to most people because we're intuitives first. We're future-oriented. We are visionaries. So we know how things are most likely going to turn out. We're not for sure, but we're betting on ourselves. And when you do that, it's not going to be readily understood by everybody in the beginning. How could it be? We're being visionaries, meaning we're creating something that doesn't exist in this form yet. So how are people supposed to understand it? And so often we get stuck trying to explain to others why we're doing this, that this makes sense, that they should just have trust in us. We can't expect this from other people, and it's just holding us back. So stop over-explaining yourself, go forward with it, and your results will be the explanation that other people can look to if they want to. Step number 3, embrace bold, fast decisions. As INFJs, we can get stuck in the NITI loop, meaning we overanalyze something, we want to take everything into consideration in order to create this optimal result. But it can be our downfall. We are naturally going to take in a lot of information. You don't have to go all the way. Like, you know, this aspect of the 20-80 principle, meaning with 20% of the effort, you get 80% of, the result. And, you need actually to put 80% more effort into something to get 100% of the possible result. So let's really go for what is right in front of us. Let's really tap into those 20%. We're already naturally attuned to making the best decisions possible with the informations at hand. So let's go for it. Let's really step out of the NITI loop and go for SE action. Know that whatever you take on, it's going to suck. It's not going to be great. And that's the solution to it all. You cannot create greatness. You can just create something that sucks and then improve upon it until it becomes great. Nothing that you have made up in your mind will look perfectly once you start implementing it. It's not possible because it's a completely different part of, creating something. The first time you create it in your mind, then creating it in reality is a whole different ballpark. And you have to learn the game. You have to take action. And you have to be willing to look like a fool in the beginning. And it's a path always worth taking. So remember, this is your time. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. So no more waiting, no more second guessing yourself. Now is the time to choose you. To go all in, to go for your INFJ glow up, to really stop playing small and make bold choices that represent what you already know you're capable of. If you want support in this, if you want to see examples of INFJs continuously doing it, then join our bootcamp. Remember, this month's live call is February 22nd, so this Saturday. So I welcome you to join us up until now, because this is always the best time to really get that motivation going, because in that live call, there's so much energy that comes together. There's such a great motivational aspect to it. And then you can still take in all the learning information, all the community aspects to it. But on top of it, you kick it off directly with our live call that gives you that final push. Everything you need to know in order to join us, you can find through the links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in line with today's topic, then check out the video you see on the screen right now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.